Fans of Vinland Saga constantly rave about Thorfinn's character development, which is completely, without a doubt, deserved, because it's fucking Thorfinn. But the byproduct of this level of attention is the neglect of other, also amazing character arcs within the series. One such character I feel has been thrown to the side a bit is Olmar, which honestly makes a bit of sense. He's kind of an annoying, narcissistic brat with the tendency to piss the audience off with his arrogant acts. However, by the end of the arc, he develops into one of the best characters in the slave arc, and a great example of Mirror's character writing. Let's start from the very beginning. The youngest son is first shown in the fields alongside Kettle. Kettle is trying to raise his son as the next success for the farm, but Olmar doesn't fuck with that idea at all and would rather become a warrior in order to gain some respect for himself. However, as shown numerous times throughout the arc, he is, quite frankly, a goddamn weakling, constantly talking shit and puffing his chest out, yet failing at every single opportunity to prove his worth. Olmar is the definition of all bark, no bite, a textbook charlatan. But Yukimura didn't just write him as an irritating character for no reason. Being 17, Olmar is frustrated at the way he's treated, expressing his distaste for being treated as a child despite being an adult. Typical teenager shit now I'm pretty sure everyone here can relate to. To him, becoming a warrior is like a pseudo shortcut to gaining that authentic respect he craves, which is where Canute comes into play. Kettle visits Canute in order to gain his favor after King Harald died, by some unknown causes, with Thorgil and Olmar in tow. And one of the most cringiest scenes of the story, Olmar stands up in the presence of the king and begs him, straight dick eats Canute for a position in his royal guard. The quote-unquote benevolent Canute offers him a chance. If he can slice a dead pig in half, he gets the job. But alas, the image of Olmar furiously slashing away at the corpse, yet not making a dent, is forever engraved in my memory. This is the lowest point of his character arc, where he is below rock bottom. But to add insult to injury, he actually manages to cop a body. Now I know, peace and love is the focus of the series, but let's just ignore that for 1 second. The man cops a W for once, killing a dude who was straight slandering him. And the story says, no, that's not no W, because you've just been manipulated by Canute. Can't catch a fucking break. But let's view this scene again with peace and love in mind. This is where I feel Olmar starts to develop past this warrior facade and toward becoming a better man. I think this shot depicts it perfectly. The look of terror and astonishment on Olmar's face, the realization that he just killed a man, with Thorgil in the back berserking through multiple of them. The scene beautifully juxtaposes the warrior Olmar wishes to be and the reality of being a warrior. It's one of the major themes in the series. Being a warrior seems dope as fuck. You get the riches, the woman, but most importantly, the respect, the glory needed to inflate your pride. Pride is a key point later on, so remember that. But the reality of fighting is, well, horrific. In simpler terms, Olmar realizes he ain't cut out for this shit, and that's the driving force of his development. After gaining this first-hand experience, Olmar no longer seems as enthusiastic about fighting, but rather reluctant and even scared. But not just fearful of war, but fearful of his brother, and his apparent inability to live up to Thorgil's expectations. Thorgil's the golden, ideal Viking within the story. Besides Thorkel, of course. Strong, merciless, loves war, loves death, the whole fucking shebang. So to Olmar, Thorkel is not only an overshadowing big brother that he can never live up to, but is also the stereotypical Viking he can also never become. It's a 1-2 punch to Olmar's ego. And it's with all of this that we finally get to the climax of his character arc. Canute's forces storm Kettle's land and ruthlessly slaughter him. I mean, it is a fucking bloodbath. Olmar witnesses the aftermath of this one-sided fight, with bodies laid strewn and whole limbs missing. And while the rest of the family insists on continuing the fight with Canute, Olmar, for the first time in the series, embraces his lack of courage. He chooses to surrender. His brother and mom are furious at his decision, and Thorgil brings up a fair point. It was his wish to go to war, and it's his fault that this war started in the first place. Instead of denying this claim and spouting out any and every single excuse he could think of, he takes responsibility, saying that it's his duty to end it. And to think, the same Olmar we've seen fuck up so many times, saying he doesn't give a shit about Viking pride. He admits the level of incompetence he constantly resides in, and goes as far as to say he deserves everything coming at him. If that isn't sublime character writing, I don't know what is. I love the parallels to Thorfinn's 100 punches ordeal, when Olmar said he didn't have the strength to sit there and be laughed at. He didn't have the strength to sit there and be punched 100 times. But I especially love how this moment is indicative of some of the story's most prominent themes, mainly pride. Thorgil says it best in this very scene. To a Viking, a Norseman, a warrior, your honor and pride is worth more than than your own life. That is a direct foil to how the series views pride. Nothing. Pride is worth nothing. Or at least not more than one's own life. You can see in Thorfinn's interaction with Halfdan, where Thorfinn immediately crashes down to kiss his boot. Because to Thorfinn, his pride means nothing. And I find it incredibly brave of Olmar to stand against his family in the Viking stereotype and choose his life over his ego. Another point I want to make is the contrast in support and action. Back during that important choice, Olmar's family, his mom and his brother, urged him to continue the fight. In other words, they supported the wrong action. But the decision Olmar made was the right one, the one that was shunned by both of them. Taking the right action, even if everyone else takes the wrong one. Taking those 100 punches despite everyone saying you couldn't just beat his ass. Being the odd one out and believing in something that you find right but is taboo among everyone else is sort of the point of Vinland Saga. And just an interesting parallel between Olmar and Thorfinn that I wanted to mention. Olmar is a victim of Viking culture, a product of the glorification of war and fighting. You can see this in every single arc of the story. The young men in Iceland, Kettle and his iron fist reputation, and in other ways like Garder and his insistence on fighting for his family. And yet, despite starting out as an arrogant piece of shit with the habit of talking out of his ass, Olmar ends up becoming someone who rejects the teachings of the era and embraces peace and simplicity, thus becoming one of my favorite characters in the series and a very memorable character arc. Thank you for watching. If y'all want more Vinland Saga content, I would love to make them because, I mean, this is my favorite manga. I love this story a lot, bro. And yeah, peace.